All right, so we're back here at the vertical split. We can see there's been a lot of work done, a little bit more framing, and some ginormous holes in the floor.
Yeah.
So what's going on here, Ryan?
All right, so in this case, because we needed a second staircase, we had to cut a hole in the floor. Pretty standard. So what we did, we had a framing inspection the other day. And in order to cut a hole in the middle of the floor, where a staircase never was, you need to restructure the whole floor so nothing sags, everything is supported. In this case, we had to add double stringers on both sides of the stairs. That's pretty standard for residential construction. Joist hangers, proper nails, that kind of stuff. Right. So now we've got, or soon will have, a second staircase running down the rear unit here. So this is taking up a little bit of living room space, but it gives that effect of the bi-level split, a vertical split that we love so much. Right. Where you guys are standing right now, this is the living space, and that attaches to the kitchen here behind me. And over on this side, what we did, we kind of rejigged the closet. There was an existing closet here, but we rejigged it, repurposed it, so that we have room for private laundry without taking up any space in the bedrooms downstairs. We've got private laundry, and then we have a proper coat closet for boots and coats and stuff like that when people come in the front door. Because it's not just, I always say this, it's not just having a basement apartment or having a vertical split that's really important. The property actually has to function for somebody. So you need to think about where are they going to store their stuff? How are they going to do their laundry? You know, how is this place going to flow? Because if you have to come back later on and show the property to your next tenant, because this particular tenant might be moving out at some point, or, you know, indefinitely, they're going to move out at some point, right? So when you come back and show the place, if it doesn't look good, it's your fault because you didn't think ahead, right? So it's really important to make sure they have storage and the property flows.
Speaking of thinking ahead, there's a whiteboard there behind you. Maybe we can segue into that.
Yeah.
Let's see you've thought ahead.
That there is the nerve center to the project. So everything from the garage to the landscaping to the interior renos to the waterproofing that we talked about downstairs, to all of the bathroom layouts, the kitchen. We'll talk about the kitchen here in a sec too. Everything goes down on that board. Doesn't matter what crew member comes in, what trade comes in, you know, right from the roofer to the foundation guy. It's super important that everybody is on the same page. Timelines stay on track, the jobs get done as they're supposed to, because the project has to flow. And if you want to make the economics efficient, right, everybody has to understand what's going on. Now we can talk a little bit about the kitchen that I just mentioned earlier. In this case, what I like to do, because we use all standard cabinets, typically from a big box retailer or somebody local, I'll just come in here with a list of cabinets that they produce, right? And I'll spray it out on the floor. And that way it gives you a boots on the ground feel as to how this kitchen's going to work, right? In this case, because we have a vent stack right in the middle of what could be a peninsula or an island, we're going with a stove and then sort of a linear kitchen on this side. Because we don't have a lot of room for a kitchen table in this property, right? In my opinion, the kitchen table is dead. People don't sit at kitchen tables with their families anymore. The breakfast bar is the way to go, right? So we've made a provision here to extend the countertop so it's a permanently fixed breakfast bar that'll seat 2 or 3 people. And then we work our way around here with the typical appliances, stove, sink, fridge, that kind of stuff. We're going to have some uppers, a nice tile backsplash, you know, modern countertops, something that looks really good and pleasing to the eye, but something that, again, is also functional for the tenant. What we're looking at down here is some basement waterproofing and what we did for underground plumbing with regards to the new bathroom that's coming down. So you can see behind me, we've got a product up on the wall. That's kind of cool. We'll talk about that. We've got some concrete that was broken up and repoured. We've got a drip line back here for the floor drain. We'll go through and we'll identify all of this stuff so that when it comes to your property, you know exactly what the contractor's talking about, or maybe even do it yourself. So in this case, we have a block foundation. You can see all the squares on the wall. There's 2 different kinds of foundation in typical construction. One is poured concrete, which is more modern. The other is block, which is how they used to do it back between like the 20s and the 50s, somewhere in there. This particular house was built in the 50s, so pretty typical construction at that time. Prior to that was cobblestone foundations, and this type of waterproofing membrane does apply to that, so keep that in mind as well if you're buying like a Century home or something to that effect. What we've done here, because we had a foundation that was actually leaking, water was coming from the outsides, the downspouts were draining pretty close to the house. We had some issues, so we thought, let's before we get renovating, why don't we just waterproof this basement, make sure it's good and dry, and if you're going to sink a bunch of money into a property, you want to make sure that it's going to last. So what we've done here is, this is a plastic membrane that you can buy at any big box retailer. This particular product is called Delta MS, but there's all kinds of different variations on it. It's a plastic sheet, right, and it has dimples on the back side. So just like you see on the front here, it's the exact inverse on the back. So if the water ever penetrated the block wall, which it has been, it will catch behind this membrane, it will fall down just like gravity, right? And then we've made a trench all the way around the perimeter of the basement. This basement is about 110 linear feet around the perimeter. So what we've done is after you make the trench, you bust up all the concrete. You'll see about 3 or 4 inches of footing, right? The footing is what holds your house up, like on the dirt. And then if you just want to pan down, what we've done, the trench that I was talking about, we dig down about a foot, we put in some gravel, we put in a big O pipe, which I'll show you on the other side, right? And big O pipe is a plastic drainage pipe, very similar to plumbing or ABS, PVC, that kind of stuff. But it's larger, it is 4-inch, and it has perforations in it. So any water that comes down through this wall ends up in the trench, it gets picked up by that pipe and either sent it to the city main through a storm connection or through a sump pump that gets ejected into the yard.
Just a quick question. Why did you actually choose to put the waterproofing on the inside of the house? Because I've seen it done on the outside of the house before.
Yeah.
Is this cheaper?
This is a more economical way to go, depending on the situation. So you can dig outside, you can dig the floors inside. We had to do a lot of concrete breaking inside already. This is a more manageable way to go in the winter because the ground is frozen rock solid. So unless you get a really big backhoe or a big bobcat to do the digging, sometimes this can be more economical. If you're in a really tight confined space like downtown Toronto homes or row houses, something like that, where you can't physically get machinery to the side of your house, this is the only way to go in that case. But that wasn't the case here. But for us, it was just more of a cost thing. It was cheaper to go this way and still have the same effect of a dry basement. So that's what we did.
It seems like the better way to go in most situations, right? Because you don't want to do the digging outside. It's taking up an extra centimeter of space as far as, or is there more to it than that?
There can be. So it depends on where your footings are. So if you don't pay a lot of attention to detail, we do. We're pretty detail oriented. When you put this in, if you're not careful and you wrap it down around the footing too wide, you'll actually end up losing about 3 or 4 inches per wall. And on an apartment that's in a basement, that can be a really big deal because we're working with most of the time under 1,000 square feet, sometimes 600, 700, 800 square feet. And losing, 3 inches here and 3 inches there, plus your framing, plus your drywall, plus your baseboard, everything just keeps moving in, right? So if you don't have a lot of space to work with, you definitely have to pay attention to the way you do it. With respect to the footings, you need to make sure that this is wrapped right tight down the wall. Here you can see we're pretty tight. When we frame this, right, that'll suck back against the wall and then we'll spray foam over it so it's good and sealed. These dimples give the spray foam a good bite, which is really cool, and then it seals everything up and we use a good 2-pound spray foam, which is perfect for moisture. Should there be any gases escaping or like that, anything like that, it'll seal it up, which is awesome. While we were breaking up the concrete for the waterproofing, we thought let's do the bathroom rough-in at the same time. So we'll talk a little bit about what's involved with the bathroom rough-in as well, and then you guys will see for yourself. Just while you're in the mood for breaking concrete, you can just get rid of everything and start fresh. So in this same trench, we have the city main that comes in on this side, right? Over here, we have what will be eventually the new bathroom for the rear basement apartment in this vertical split. So what we did loosely was we roughed out where our bathroom fixtures were going to be. We did that with orange spray paint. You can do that with regular kind of spray paint, but the orange shows up pretty good once it gets dirty. So we marked out where our walls are going to be, we marked out where our vanity was going to go, and then we've also repositioned the stack so it's going to be located within a bedroom wall as opposed to being exposed and then being in a bulkhead when we're all finished. So we'll start over here. This is the main stack that comes from the roof right down to the city main and out. This is a vent stack, right? All of your plumbing will tie into here. This is what also allows your plumbing fixtures to breathe. Very important, you need to have air behind water for the water to actually flow down the pipe. Super important. What we have here is a primer line or a drip line. This feeds the trap in the floor drain so that the floor drain doesn't run dry. So just like you see that little curvature under your bathroom sink, this floor drain feeds something similar but just underneath the ground so you don't have sewer gases coming in the house. Very important. Over here, this is the toilet flange. This will eventually be the bathtub area, right? And like I said, that's the vanity. The bathtub area is kind of important as to where the floor drain goes where the plumbing and the floor goes, because you can't concrete it all in. So you have to leave a hole in order to put your tub in so that you can hook up all the plumbing after everything is installed. We go back when we're done, concrete that in permanent, and you've got a perfect setup there, which is awesome. Over here, you need to know for the toilet flange where your wall is going to be. A typical toilet nowadays is between 11 and 13 inches, depending on the type of tank, away from the wall. You don't want the toilet sitting in the middle of the room, and you want to be able to make sure the toilet fits and not be too tight to the wall, or it won't go down at all and it won't seal up on the wax ring. So super important that you can locate that. We did the wall here with orange spray paint, so we just measured off. Keeps it really neat and tidy and easy for the plumber. And then back over here, because we have to have 2 bathrooms in this vertical split, over on this side we have a second 3-inch drain that terminates here for now, but it will feed the upstairs bathroom when we're all said and done. If you have any other questions about vertical splits or what we're doing, you can get me at rwcarinvestment.com. I'm Ryan Carr. Thanks for watching.